You know, you see trucks on the highway every single day, millions of them, moving everything we rely on. But what you probably don't see is the hidden clock that every single driver is racing against. It's this clock that tells them when they can drive, when they have to work, and when they absolutely must rest. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on these crucial rules, the whole system that's designed to keep all of us safe out there on the road. So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll get into the big why, the reason these rules even exist. Then we'll dive into the nitty-gritty, what all the official terms mean, what the daily limits are, why there are actually two different sets of rules, and how it's all tracked. And then we'll wrap it all up by looking at how this is really a whole system of safety. Okay, so first things first, why all the regulations? Well, the answer is pretty simple, and honestly, it's pretty sobering. It's all about fighting driver fatigue, which is a genuine life or death issue. Just let that number sink in for a second. 20%. The Canadian Council of Motor Transport Administrators estimates that 1 in every 5 fatal collisions might be caused by a tired driver. That's a huge deal. It's this invisible danger that has incredibly real and often tragic consequences. And, you know, it's not just about literally falling asleep at the wheel. Fatigue is so much more insidious than that. It messes with your cognitive abilities, your motor skills, your reaction time. I mean, everything you need to operate a massive vehicle safely. So these rules are really designed to prevent the crash that happens before a driver's eyes even close. So how do you actually fight something like fatigue with rules? Well, you start by breaking down a driver's entire day into 3 very distinct, legally defined categories. And really, if you can get your head around these 3 things, you'll understand the whole system. All right, first up, the most obvious one, driving time. This is exactly what it sounds like. Anytime the driver is in that seat and the truck is rolling, the clock is ticking on their driving time. Simple enough, right? But that's only one piece of the puzzle.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. On-duty time. This includes driving, of course, but it's also everything else they do for work. We're talking vehicle inspections, fueling up, loading or unloading cargo, filling out paperwork, even just waiting around at a customer's warehouse if the company told them to. So a driver's clock can be burning away even when their truck hasn't moved an inch for hours.
And that brings us to the final piece, off-duty time. Basically, if you're not on duty, you're off duty. This is the driver's own time. It's for eating, relaxing, and most importantly, getting sleep. This is the critical time that's used to calculate those mandatory rest periods. Okay, so now that we know the different kinds of time, how do they all fit together into a set of hard limits? Let's look at the basic rules for a driver who's operating just provincially, let's say, staying completely inside the borders of Alberta. The key concept to understand here is the work shift. Just think of it like a container for the driver's workday. The shift starts the second they come on duty after taking at least 8 straight hours off, and it doesn't end until they start their next big 8-hour break. So here are the numbers. Within that one work shift, a driver is only allowed to drive for a maximum of 13 hours. And their total on-duty time, that's driving plus all that other work, is capped at 15 hours. If they hit either one of those limits, they are done. Period. They have to take a full 8 consecutive hours off to reset their clocks.
Now, just when you think you've got a handle on it, the system throws a curveball, because the rules a driver has to follow can actually change, sometimes from one day to the next, and it all depends on their route.
The main difference is pretty simple on the surface. If you stay within one province, you follow the provincial rules we just talked about. But the second that truck crosses a provincial or national border, boom, you're under federal rules. And those are typically more complex. And they bring in things like cycle limits, which look at your total hours over a whole week or two to stop that slow creep of fatigue from building up day after day. So you're probably wondering, how in the world does anyone keep track of all this? How is it enforced? Well, the answer lies in what is arguably the single most important document in any truck, the logbook. It doesn't matter if it's an old-school paper book or, as you see more and more, an electronic one. The daily log is the driver's Bible. It is a legal record of their day, and it has to account for every minute and every mile. Every time they switch from driving to on-duty to off-duty, it gets logged, and it has to be perfect. That is a fantastic question, because as it turns out, not every single commercial driver has to fill out one of these super detailed daily logs. There's a really big exception for a lot of local drivers. Right. So if a driver stays within a 160-kilometer radius of their home base, if they get to return to that base every single day, and if their work shift is less than 15 hours long, they get a pass on filling out that detailed logbook. But, and this is the really crucial part, they are not exempt from the actual time limits. The rules still apply, and their company is still required to keep accurate records to prove they're in compliance.
And that actually brings us to a final, really important point. Making sure a driver is rested and following the rules isn't just on their shoulders. It's a shared responsibility. It's an entire system of safety.
The law is crystal clear on this. This isn't just on the driver. The carrier, that's the trucking company, is legally on the hook to monitor their drivers. They can't just throw someone the keys and say good luck. They're an active and legally required partner in this. This whole thing creates a continuous loop of responsibility. First, it starts with training. You got to train everyone, not just the drivers, but the dispatchers who are planning the trips. Next comes monitoring, actively watching driver hours to try and prevent a violation before it happens. Then you have regular audits, where the company reviews the logbooks to make sure they're accurate. And finally, if a problem is found, the company has to step in and act. It's all about being proactive, not reactive.
So, from the why of fighting fatigue to the how of logbooks and company responsibility, it's all part of this invisible but absolutely vital system that's running in the background on every highway every single day. So I guess the question is, the next time you're out on the road and you see that big rig, are you just going to see a truck? Or are you going to see this whole complex system of safety in motion?